Very good morning, students. Before starting today's sessions, we'll see that what are the topics we have been covered into a previous session. In a previous session, we have started a new chapter called as Basic Concept of OOPS, which has a weightage of 7 marks. In that chapter, we have discussed introduction to basic concept of OOPS, different styles of programming like procedural programming, structured programming, object-oriented programming. And also we have seen the difference between the procedural programming and object-oriented programming. Till those are the topics we have covered into a previous class. Let us start our session today by discussing about the major characteristics of OOPS. The major characteristics of OOPS are objects, classes, data abstractions, data encapsulations, inheritances, polymorphisms are the major characteristics. Now we'll see one by one. What is an object? An object are a basic building blocks for designing a program. We can also call that an object is a collections of data members and associated with a member functions. For to represent, you people already know that object oriented programming is for creating an real world entity. When you talk about real world entity, the object are being used to represent like a person, place or table, etc. But each object is identified by a unique name. Once again, I repeated you that each object is identified by unique name. Each object must be a member of a particular class. If you are selecting any object, that object should be a member for a particular class. For an example, real world entity, when you take an example of real world entity like an apple, orange, mango, banana, all those things belongs to a particular class called as fruits. And now we are going to see the next characters, that is classes. A class is a collections of an objects that have an identical properties, common behavior and shares the relations. What is a class? A class is an collections of an object that have identical properties, common behavior and shares a relationship. Once a class is defined, n number of objects can be created in a class. For an example, when I tell that a class is a fruit, what are the fruits are there? They can have a n number of fruits like banana, mango, apple, etc. But all those things belongs to a single class. That means that the class, if one class is created, the class can have n number of n objects. And class is an user defined data type. Once again I repeat it, a class is an user defined data type. A class can hold both a data and functions. Next character is data abstractions. What is a data abstraction? It is a process of representing essential features without including a background detail or an explanation. For an example, taken printout. Once an user want to take a print out, he just focus his mind to click onto a print. Once he click onto a print, he never bother about how the command travels from the system towards a printer and what is the process it's carried out inside the printer. This abstracting the user one and the working inside the system, we tell that it is a abstractions. And next one we have data encapsulation. Data encapsulation is a process of wrapping a data and functions into a single unit. We call that as a data encapsulations. Next character is inheritances. What is a inheritancy? Inheritancy is a process by which one object can acquire and use a property of another. Example, father, son. Father is one class, and son is another class. Son can acquire the property of another class called as in father. This acquiring a property from one class to another class, we call that as a inheritances. In the inheritances, we have base class and the derived class. What is base class? Base class is nothing but the existing class. We call that as a base class or a super class. And what is derived class? The new class is called as a derived class. As I have already explained the example, father and a son. A father is a base class and a son is a derived class. And one more characteristics is polymorphism. What do you mean by polymorphism? Poly means many. Morphism is nothing but forms. This word is being derived by the Greek word polymorphism. Once again, poly means many. Morphisms is nothing but forms, where it is an ability of an operator and a functions to take many forms in a different situations. For an example, when we talk about the shape, in some situation the shape can change into a triangle. The same shape class can have one more shape called as a rectangle. The same shape can have one more shape called as a circle. These are the different major characteristics of OOPs. Let me see the again. What are the characteristics? Objects, classes, encapsulation, abstractions, polymorphism, and inheritances. These are the major characteristics of OOPs. Let us see the next topic is the advantage of an OOPs. We'll see what are the advantages of an OOPs. The program are modularized based on the principles of class and objects. It means that the program can be subdivided on the basis of classes and objects. Link code and objects all allowed related objects to share a common code, where they say one object can also share the code of another objects. Creations and implementations of OOP code is easy and reduces the software development time. The concept of data abstraction separates an object specification and object implementation. Data encapsulation along with functions, therefore the external non-member function cannot access or modify the data, thus they provide the data security. Easier to develop a complex software because complexity can be minimized through inheritances. OOPs can communicate through message passing, which makes a interface a descriptions with outside the systems. These are the different advantages of an OOPs. Once again, we'll see what are the advantage. The program can be more modularized based on principles of a classes and objects. The link of an code of an objects allowed for the related objects to share the common code. Creating an implementations of a OOPs code is easy and reduces the software time. The concept of data abstraction separating an object specifications and object implementation. Data encapsulation along with the functions. Therefore, the external External non-member functions cannot access or modify the another functions. That provides automatically, that provides you the security. It's easier to develop software. Software means if it is a difficult software too, it is easy. How? Because we can implement through the inheritances. Objects can communicate through the message passing, which makes the interface descriptions with outside the class. And nextly, we'll see the disadvantage of an OOPS. The large program, once you create an OOP program, the large program, it may lead you for a complexity of a program. Once it is a large, the programming is slow and not it is not suitable for all the programs. To convert the objects onto a real world problem, it's very difficult. Oops, software development, it is debugging and testing tools are too standardized. We cannot have a small normal testers to test these type of softwares. The polymorphism and dynamic binding also require a processing time due to the overloading of function runtimes. And we'll see the applications of OOPS. What are the applications of OOPS are the computer graphic applications, CAD, CAM softwares, user interface design such as Windows, real-time systems, simulations and modeling, artificial intelligences, expert systems, client and server systems. Thank you.